They think you're weak because you're quiet. They mistake your silence for insecurity. They assume you have nothing to say, nothing to defend, nothing to fight back with. But what they don't understand is this. Silence is not the absence of power. It is the control of it. Most people react instantly. They defend, they explain, they argue, they try to win. And the moment they do, they lose. Because the second you react, you give the other person something they can use. You reveal emotion, you reveal insecurity, you reveal where to press next. Reaction gives information, and information gives leverage. But silence gives nothing. And that's what makes it dangerous. When you stay silent in a room full of noise, people start watching you differently. They begin to wonder. Why isn't he reacting? Why isn't she defending herself? Does she know something? Is he planning something? The human mind hates uncertainty. It would rather hear a harsh truth than face an unknown intention. So when you remove your reaction, you remove their certainty. And uncertainty creates tension. Tension creates discomfort. And discomfort creates fear. Not loud fear, not obvious fear, but subtle psychological unease. Because now they can't read you. And when people can't read you, they can't control you. Pause. Most people don't fear aggression. They expect aggression. They know how to fight noise with noise. But silence? Silence is unpredictable, and unpredictability shifts power. Here's what most people don't realize. When someone tries to provoke you, they are not looking for truth. They are looking for a reaction. A reaction confirms their power. If they insult you and you explode, they win. If they criticize you and you rush to explain, they win. If they manipulate you and you defend yourself emotionally, they win. Because now they know exactly where you stand. They can see your triggers. They can measure your insecurity. They can predict your next move. But when you don't react, when you simply look at them, calm, steady, unreadable, something shifts. Now the silence becomes a mirror. And suddenly, they are the ones exposed. They start questioning themselves. Did I go too far? Why isn't this working? Does this person not care? Did I lose control? Silence forces them to sit with their own discomfort, and most people cannot handle that. Think about the last time someone tried to argue with you. Notice how arguments escalate. One sentence leads to another. One defense leads to another attack. It becomes a cycle. But imagine this instead. They attack. You pause. You breathe. You say nothing. The energy has nowhere to land. And when energy has nowhere to land, it collapses. That's power. And here's the part nobody tells you. Silence doesn't just protect you. It changes how people see you. Not loud power, not dramatic power, controlled power. The Stoics understood this deeply. They knew that emotional restraint is a form of dominance over the self. And when you dominate yourself, no one else can dominate you. Epictetus taught that if someone insults you, it is not the insult that disturbs you. It is your judgment about it. If you remove the judgment, the insult becomes empty. And when an insult becomes empty, the attacker feels it. Because now they are fighting alone. Silence does something subtle. It makes you appear unshakable. And people fear what they cannot shake. Silence, however, is not passive. It is intentional. because there is a difference between being quiet out of fear and being silent out of control. Let's make this practical. Situation 1. A coworker tries to undermine you in a meeting. They interrupt. They question your competence. They try to make you look small. Most people rush to defend themselves. They talk faster. They explain more. They try to win the room. But the more they speak, the more desperate they appear. Now imagine something different. They attack. You pause. You look at them. You let the silence stretch just a little longer than comfortable. Then you respond, calmly, with one short sentence. No emotion, no over-explaining, just clarity. That pause changes the entire power dynamic. Because now the room is not watching you panic. They're watching the other person feel exposed. Situation 2. Someone in your personal life tries to provoke you. They say something hurtful. They want a reaction. They want drama. If you react emotionally, you feed the cycle. But if you stay composed, if you don't argue, if you don't chase the last word, something unsettling happens. They feel ignored. And to the ego, being ignored is worse than being attacked. Silence denies validation. And without validation, manipulation loses oxygen. Situation 3. Someone tries to guilt you. They want you to explain yourself. They demand reasons. They demand emotional reassurance. And the old version of you would rush to justify. But the disciplined version of you understands. Not every question deserves an answer. Not every accusation deserves a defense. Sometimes the strongest move is to simply say, I understand, and leave it there. No debate, no performance, just stillness. Silence is not about avoiding conflict. It is about choosing when you engage. It is about refusing to be dragged into emotional chaos. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the best revenge is not to be like your enemy. Silence embodies that principle. You refuse to mirror their instability. You refuse to surrender your composure. And over time, something changes. People stop trying to provoke you because they realize they cannot move you. They cannot read you. They cannot control you. And when people realize they cannot control you, they begin to respect you, or they distance themselves. Both are victories. Remember this: the loudest person in the room is rarely the most powerful. Power often sits quietly, observing, measuring, waiting. So the next time someone tests you, resist the urge to react. Let the silence do the work, because the more you stay silent, the less predictable you become. And the less predictable you become, the more powerful you appear. Silence is not weakness. It is discipline. And discipline is what truly makes people fear you. If this message resonated with you, subscribe to Stoic Scrolls. And remember, control your mind. Control your response. Control your power.